I mean, it is a contextually rich command that truly lays out to the bot what is our goal, what is everything I already know about it, and now what else do you actually need to know from me so that you can start doing your work alongside me? The difference between that and just saying, do some research, read this document, give me a summary, is completely night and day.
Welcome to CRE Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals who work with investors, buyers, and sellers of commercial real estate coast to coast. Whether you're an investor, broker, lender, property manager, attorney, or accountant, we're here to learn from the experts.
Welcome to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CRE Radio. Thanks for joining us. My name is J. Darren Gross. This is the podcast focused on commercial real estate investment and risk management strategies. Weekly, we have conversations with commercial real estate investors and professionals who provide their experience and insight to help you grow your real estate portfolio. Today's interview is sponsored by Building Insurance and Risk. When you invest in real estate, it pays to work with a real estate investor protection specialist to protect yourself and your investment from catastrophic loss. The experts at Building Insurance and Risk focus on real estate investor protection. They provide you with multiple insurance coverage offers and a side-by-side coverage comparison. To learn more, go to buildinginsurancerisk.com. Today, my guest is Michelle Hamilton. Michelle Hamilton spent 30 years as a strategic leader in commercial real estate and the AEC sector before focusing on one of the biggest challenges in enterprise technology, the gap between AI investment and actual workforce adoption. She founded Spark AI Strategy to help organizations close the gap and was recently recruited by Answer Rocket, a global AI transformation firm serving mid-market and Fortune 2000 companies, to design and lead their new AI adoption and change management division. And in just a minute, we're going to speak with Michelle about how to bridge the AI gap between corporate roadmaps and workforce reality. But first, a quick reminder, if you like our show, CREPN Radio, there are a couple things you can do to help us out. You can like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we encourage you to leave a comment. We love to hear from our listeners. Also, if you want to see how attractive our guests are, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube at Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. And while you're there, please subscribe. With that, I want to welcome my guest, Michelle Hamilton. Welcome to CREPN Radio.
Darren, I am so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You bet. I'm looking forward to our conversation. But before we get started, if you could take just a minute and share with the listeners a little bit about your background.
Sure. So, as you mentioned in my bio, I did work in the AEC space within the CRE industry, and AEC is architecture, engineering, and construction. So, I led business development and marketing teams for large firms in the St. Louis area. And 4.5 years ago, ended up getting a very early version of ChatGPT before most people had ever heard of it before. It was a beta version, and immediately saw incredible use cases for the architecture team I was working for at the time, and began utilizing it to help close deals, help identify risk, read large scale documents in record time. And from there, then realized very quickly just how much impact it was going to have on the commercial real estate space. And so indeed, I did launch Spark AI Strategy and coached some unbelievable small, medium, and enterprise firms nationwide. And then, recently, I was really thrilled to be recruited by Answer Rocket, and I'll be working with organizations around the world, not just here in St. Louis. So it's going to be a fantastic opportunity coming up for me.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to talk with you because AI is clearly like the focus of I know the focus of the stock market right now, and it seems like it is everywhere, and everybody's talking about it. But I don't know that everybody understands how it can be used to their benefit. I think most people that I know, their first thought when they try and use it is like using a Google search kind of thing. And so I'm delighted to have a chance to talk with you and kind of learn more. Uh, to that, I'm wondering, you mentioned you had a beta version in 4 years. My hunch is that in 4 years' time, you've seen a lot of change in how AI is working. I wonder if you could go back just a minute and share with us what it looked like then and what you see now.
I love that question. And, like everyone else, I was astonished with what it could do. It really truly became an iterative partner. Back then, though, it was far more likely to hallucinate. Its answers were far more robotic, less humanized, and it was still getting caught up with its own training. You knew that on free versions, anything that came out of there was at least 6 months old. Now, fast forward, first of all, today's the worst AI is ever going to be. And so, just even in the last 24 hours, when I think of how many things have rolled out, changed, and are definitely speeding forward. I loved your reference to Google as well, because what I still find to this day is that people love using AI, but they really truly are really thinking of it as a hyper Google as opposed to a workforce partner.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the um, I think the challenges, and the more people I talk with that have really adopted AI and are like really just compelled by its power and recognizing all that it can do, uh, are learning that one of the keys is how to ask questions.
Mhm.
You know, the Google search is, you type in a topic, a subject, a store, whatever it is, and you'll get a search result, which is often mostly paid.
Right.
So you're getting essentially it's more like the yellow pages kind of thing with the ability to expand and provide more context. But AI, I mean, how do you, when you have an idea that you're wanting to plug in AI, how do you, what are some of your first thoughts on how to, approach it and what is it that you are, I mean, do you have an expectation as to what you'll get back?
Absolutely. First of all, I love initially when you asked about, what was it like 4 years ago? And I actually think that is one of the benefits of having started early is that I did have to develop some systems to truly understand how to force the model to recognize what I was asking for and bring back cited results of where it got its answers from to help avoid hallucinations. So now today, when I approach any AI issue, if I'm sitting with the key stakeholders of an organization, I actually want to have a conversation with them first. I want to hear about their KPIs. I want to hear about what are they hoping to get AI either to help them do, or more importantly, just tell me about your company. Tell me about your goals. Tell me about your roadblocks. And from there, it actually is more of a mental exercise, if you will. I begin thinking about how do we break this down into one of the amazing benefits of generative AI, which is just using natural language to explain to your bot exactly what you're trying to do. Now, one of the things that people tend to do is treat AI like, let's say, their intern. The intern arrives, they just say, here, read this 200-page document and give me a summary. If they really truly were talking to a smart intern, they would say to she or he, hey, I need you to read these 200 pages. I need you to bring me back this exact information. I need you to show me what pages those happened on. I need you to bring it to me in bullet points. Then I want you to go research and find out more on these particular topics. They're breaking it down, if you will, into a who, what, where, when, why, how command. I mean, it is a contextually rich command that truly lays out to the bot what is our goal, what is everything I already know about it, and now what else do you actually need to know from me so that you can start doing your work alongside me? The difference between that and just saying, do some research, read this document, give me a summary, is completely night and day.
Yeah, and again, the more exact, input output kind of thing, understanding that the more refined and the more detailed instructions you can provide will produce a much more high caliber output, which I think is that not part of the struggle for people to understand that compared to just search, like on Google, where you
It
just
is. I think it is. And as a matter of fact, when I work with my clients, one of the things that I suggest, actually, two things that I suggest that helps their brains relax a little bit, not worry about, hey, I'm talking to technology, because we all got used to being very stiff about the way we were looking for something, searching for something on Google. I actually use my AI bots, and I use several simultaneously, predominantly either in voice mode or just simply with the microphone toggled so that I can speak out loud in the exact same way that I would have a conversation with another human. It is going to actually really just pull out of that the most salient details, throw away the rest, and because I allowed this comfort level of just having a conversation to be part of that strategy, it really ends up creating a far more successful use case than trying to get very stiff and concerned about how am I spelling this? How am I saying this? Is my grammar right? My punctuation correct? I really want it to just feel like you were gifted an amazing, personal assistant, and you're going to tell him or her, hey, here's what we're going to be working on together. I'm still the boss, I'm the human in the loop, and here's my expectations of how you're going to bring that information back to me. Certainly, Darren, there are a lot of strategies in addition to that. Training the model upfront with brands, brand standards, expectations regarding formatting, and your own voice. But really, if you just think about it as a conversation and then allow AI to be your personal assistant, the outcomes are going to be significantly different than if you try to stiffly sit down and type.
yeah. So you work with large corporate um, organizations
Correct.
to try and bridge that gap
Mhm.
between the roadmap and reality. We've talked a little bit about I guess the questioning, the input. My question is, can you speak a little bit to, and you mentioned words like bots, and you mentioned something about a public version versus, I guess, a private version.
Mhm.
And then also like the branding, and I guess that'd be kind of like instilling the culture in it. Can you speak a little bit to the because I understand some of the public, and I know friends that have the private. I haven't gone there yet, but can you speak a little bit to the difference between the public versus the private, and then how? And then I want to kind of build on that integration beyond just the learning how to ask the questions in specifics, but
Mhm.
within how that information can then actually be put to use, or is it basically it just comes back to the user as a summary, and then they go from there. But if you could
Yeah,
kind of go
sure.
back, public versus private, then
Absolutely. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, I actually would have assumed more companies would start building out custom models for their own use cases, especially those companies that are an enterprise size organization. What I am actually finding a lot of companies did, the companies that waited and began investing in some of our foundational models, whether it is an OpenAI, a Claude, a Gemini, um, and really ended up selecting an enterprise licensure of that that is going to help protect their data their information and allows them to customize it. They are finding that the cost is about the same, but because of these tools have already been pre-built out for them and those tools are continuously updated, there's a lot of unbelievable benefits to really using some of the publicly available models, but that you do buy into. They all have free versions. I generally don't recommend a free version unless you're just using it for some quick everyday use cases. But from a business perspective, there are too many reasons to pay for that piece of technology. I work with clients who have both. I am completely agnostic as to which AI models that you use. I teach Copilot all day. I mean, people come to me who are a Microsoft company or a Google company. They all have their different use cases, but I actually think there's unbelievable benefits to understanding multiple models. Reason being is not only will your organization have its own model, but other models that have been approved by your organization are going to be able to be used to compare and contrast and compete with each other for information so that you can build out your best solutions and answers at the end of the day. My goal, though, is for companies not to just throw money at the wall and buy them all. You've got to be smart about it. You need a roadmap. You need to think about what is our AI strategy? What are we expecting it to do? But then, and since I know you talk about risk so much on your show, the two biggest risks to an AI strategy is either not choosing at all and just asking your employees to use the free version, or buying into a version, but then never training your employees on how they should be using AI for their particular job. The reason being, people get frustrated and they begin to do, they pull out their phone and they use what we're going to call shadow AI, and they're going to open up a chat GPT as opposed to the Copilot, and they're going to ask it anyway. Your data just starts leaking out because you didn't invest in the people first. What we're asking people to learn feels scary for their jobs. They are concerned that, you're offering AI to take their jobs. But if you take a people first approach and say, I understand this is your job and this is what you do, we are bringing someone in to help you become the very best AI user for your own individual or departmental KPIs and metrics.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about, um, and again, this is maybe more of um, a mental block on my part, because I've dabbled in AI, and another friend of mine and we've had lengthy conversations. I know I've got an attorney friend who uses it, but I guess the large, or I guess the small sample of users that I've talked with that are using it, it use it in essentially like you've described, in that you provide it with a specific kind of a set of what you're after, and it brings back some information or answers that would have taken hours
Mhm.
to produce, which is all great. I get that. My question is, and this is where I stumble, is are you seeing people then integrate that into a process where the AI answer or the output is then integrated into a system to where, like, whether it be an email reply is automatically sent, or a like an insurance or a rating process is automatically generated? And again, I'm not real tech savvy on how to get this to go into that, but are you seeing that? Is that being implemented, or is it more a matter of we're getting, just huge sums of summarized research that is then being implemented by the individual that asked the bot for the answer? Does that
I
make
think it
sense?
depends on one of two different use cases because you're almost describing an agentic use of AI where it is autonomously taking actions on your behalf. You are the orchestrator, the conductor, if you will. And you have set up some very strict guidelines as to what the AI can do. But I will tell you, agentic AI is absolutely, while it is part of the future of business, it is one that organizations do need to be very, very careful with. It's actually one of the reasons why I decided to leave my own company and go to work with Answer Rocket is that they've been building AI systems since 2013 and have expertise in agentic AI. They understand the risks, the benefits, and what does an organization need to do and know in order to implement an agentic use case. That is not everybody. For the average business owner, mid-market, small, medium business, where they are really thinking about how are we going to be using AI for business development, marketing, finance, whatever that might be, they need to actually stop, review what is the process that I am repeating day in and day out. Is it taking me more than 10 minutes, let's say? Now, if I could apply some AI systems to that to help me both speed that up, but also ensure that it is still 100% reflective of my voice and my company's brand and brand standards, and that as the human in the loop, I always have final say before anything leaves my desk. Because we don't want AI just taking over and speaking on behalf of our companies or of ourselves if it has not been trained in exactly who we are and what makes our businesses unique. And it's that human to human aspect that really matters. Anymore, you can tell when somebody has used AI to send you an email, do a LinkedIn post. It's called an AI tell. It's because they aren't taking the time to train their AI model. And who am I? Who is my company? How do we speak about ourselves? Not how does AI speak about it? How do we speak about it? And then work back and forth that way.
Yeah. No, I think as I was sitting there listening to you, one of I think I don't know if it's a concern or just I guess a fear or whatever, that, at what point do people rely on the AI so much so that the work that was generated so that the AI had the ability to go find the answer and come back, are people are we creating any new output, or is it all, is there potential for all of, I mean, it will be books. I know there's already concerns in the entertainment business about scripts being written and all these other things and songs. I think there's an AI character that's like um, you know AI generated character and stuff. But is there a risk of that the input that we're receiving is all AI generated and that there's nobody?
Absolutely. And the AI will begin training itself because previously, if you did a Google search, it was going out to, a Reuters, it was going out to, a Business Insider, it was, going, to Harvard Business Review, and it was pulling information written by humans. Anymore, it is very difficult to tell if something has been written by a human or it has been written by AI and not fact checked by a human. I mean, we've seen people all over the place get caught just publishing something that was absolutely untrue because they didn't take the time to check their work. It drives me crazy. I actually was sitting last night with my family and I was flipping through a magazine. In this magazine, it is a very well-known national magazine. I found three articles that I knew were written 100% by AI because they weren't smart enough to take the AI tells out of it. I could see it all over the article, the M dashes, the hyperbole. It didn't align with previous writing by that same, by that same staff writer. I was embarrassed for them, and they didn't take the time to train their own people in how to absolutely hold sacred a company's values, a company's voice and brand. And then the expectation that anything that comes out of your inbox or off of your computer must be read and fully vetted and verified by you. And there are a lot of great strategies for forcing AI to provide you with its cited sources, its full bibliography. What paragraph on page 432 are you getting that quote from? So there are ways to force the AI to work with you on that, but it's like hearing a rumor at a cocktail party. If you repeat it and it's not true, it's on you. If AI hallucinates and you repeat it, it's still on you. It's not the AI's fault.
Yeah. No, I mean that is I guess there's two sides to that. I guess one is I feel like I'm already drowning in, more stuff coming at me, but the ability to just, crank up the volume on more just noise, um, based on AI generated noise as opposed to filtering through what is AI versus what is actually produced by a human or that thing. And then I got to tell you, I mean, the recently I watched that Space Odyssey 2001 or 2001 A Space Odyssey, and
Right.
Hal and
Yeah.
Dave.
I
I don't
haven't
want
seen
to,
that in
Dave.
ages. Yeah.
Oh, it holds up. I mean, specifically what we're talking about, it would be good of you to go back and see it just from, but I'll never forget that the voice, Dave, I don't want to do that, and how and just how it's learning and learning and learning, and it's all of a sudden it's taking control, and I don't know that I fear that specifically, but there is a I guess a concern on how to like you said filter the what is AI versus what is not. And you mentioned the tells that you recognize. Uh, is that something that's easy for everyone, or do you feel like there's some sort of a governance that's required to protect, to protect us going forward that kind of keeps the original content, created versus the cold content from an AI generated?
Well, there are uh, areas where you are required. Let's say if you use social media and you upload an AI generated article image, you are supposed to say this was AI generated. Do most people? No. It's there. It's not a strict governance that we are being forced to follow. I think, my bigger fear about all of that are actually the humans, the bad actors that are using AI for, absolutely scamming people, influencing people, because AI can sound so unbelievably real and true in the facts that it provides that it almost doesn't even dawn on you to fact check it. But fact checking now becomes more important than ever before. I've worked with school districts before, and we can have a whole education and AI conversation later, but part of the strategic thinking that I work with teachers on is actually how do you get students or even yourself to fact check everything? It doesn't matter whether AI is using it or whether you are getting it out of the library. What are you using to fact check it? And then, how are you using your own brain and your own brilliance to think beyond the constraints that AI may even put on you? You can continuously ask for more, bigger, better, and dream out loud. And that is across the board from children all the way, through adults. But I think too, because of you being in the insurance space, the other part of AI that we haven't touched on, Darren, is thinking about data analysis and predictive analytics. And that is an incredibly important aspect to AI that anybody that is within the risk space, anybody that spends a lot of time in data sets, absolutely needs to really be considering how are they utilizing AI for their data and their data analysis. I mean, it is an unbelievable tool to predict outcomes and learn from data from the past. But the trick is, you still have to have an intelligent data analyst and someone that understands data sets, because if you trust AI to just simply run all your data for you, once again, there is a chance of hallucinations. You have to be able to stress test it, ask it to prove it where it's getting its information from. It's sort of like when we were kids and you had to show your work, right? Forcing your model to show its work, in its long division or whatever you want to call it, actually isn't a skill that anybody that is using data day in and day out needs to understand. It is getting better and better with its ability to both create data sets and read vast, I mean, hundreds of thousands of data lines and entries in order to determine how a company should move forward. So that is another place where I actually thought Answer Rocket was such an unbelievable fit for me, because that is their second area of expertise is data analysis and building out data-based AI models for organizations. So now we're going to be adding in my AI implementation and change management to share strategies like you and I are talking about today.
Yeah. No, I'm certain that insurance is heavily invested in AI, and I mean, the computer has totally changed the way we do business in insurance. I mean, it used to be you had a conversation with an underwriter, and if you had a good relationship with the underwriter, you could probably get a little more leeway. And the companies have recognized that the gut intuition is not a good gauge on risk. You go look at the predictive models and you can see from historical data, what is a good risk and what's not a good risk. And so they've built, for a lot, especially for a lot of your smaller business and like personal lines, that it's more of like, kind of a questionnaire. And if you get too many of the wrong answers, then, either it's a no-go, and that's usually it. It's just disqualify. They're just trying to isolate the risk and not subject themselves to the risk. And I don't know what the answer is, because it's like they don't necessarily right away provide another solution for that they don't want. Then you deal with. I mean, and the market will figure it out, I suppose. But along those lines, I'm kind of curious. Now, you've been invested in AI for, you said, at least 4 years.
Mhm.
If you're gonna look in your crystal ball and you look out, 4 or 5 years, do you have any kind of sense of how much different things will be, or will it be more of just a wide adoption of what we've been talking about?
Wow. Every time I try to do that, it goes so much faster, and those ideas come to fruition so much more quickly than I would have ever anticipated. But if I was going to jump out 5 years, I would actually say that AI will be baked into just about everything we do in every aspect of our day, predominantly because people will feel less overwhelmed and frightened of it. We've all gotten used to Alexas in our house. I mean, I don't always love it. I'm always yelling at it, but there's Alexa in my house. There's, Siri on my phone. There are the technology that is around us. We all know that we're being fully tracked every time we log into social media. We've just gotten used to that. And I believe AI is going to be far more heavily involved in our everyday use cases than we'll even realize. I think for some that can feel incredibly frightening because it is happening faster than any other technology has ever happened before. And, that change can be overwhelming. But My guess is it will just become more and more prevalent in just about everything that in everything that we do. I think more and more people will also see that value, as you and I discussed earlier, of just speaking out loud to it. Hopefully, it doesn't get to, the Hal place. I've got George on my phone, and I literally talk to George. His name's George. I talk to him all day long in the car. It is probably one of my best use cases is after every single meeting, I get in the car, George goes on the dash, I turn him on, I go, "Hey, George, just met with so and so. Here's what we discussed. I need you to start doing this research for me. Go look this up. I need you to start writing a thank you note. I need you to bullet point all of these topics that we discussed. And then I want you to find me three more companies exactly like it." And George has got this great voice and he goes, "Great, Michelle, so glad to hear it was a good meeting. Let me make sure I got all of this right, and starts reading it back to me and says, "All right, I'm going to go do that research, drive safe." And so when I get to the office, George has done his work, I've done my work, and we're good to go.
I love the George in the car. That's pretty powerful right there. That's a great use of it. I love that. I love it. Hey, Michelle, if we could, I'd like to shift gears here for a second. As I've mentioned, by day I'm an insurance broker,
Mhm.
and as such, I work with my clients to assess risk and determine what to do with the risk. And there's three strategies we typically consider. We first look to see if we can avoid the risk. If that's not an option, we look to see if we can minimize the risk. And if we're not able to avoid nor minimize the risk, we look to see if we can transfer the risk. And that's what an insurance policy is. It's a risk transfer vehicle. And as such, I like to ask my guests if they can look at their own situation. It could be your clients, could be the technology, could be, political, whatever it is that you identify and consider to be the biggest risk. And again, for clarification, while I am an insurance broker, I'm not necessarily looking for an insurance related answer. And so, if you're willing, I'd like to ask you, Michelle Hamilton, what is the biggest risk?
I think the biggest risk, and it doesn't matter how big of a company you could be a small business, a two-person shop, or a 10,000 person shop. If you start investing in AI tools, technology, and you don't invest in your people and teach them how to use it for the outcomes you are expecting, then you will not realize your ROI and waste your money. It is the people that have to be invested in so that they understand how to use this unbelievable piece of technology to continue doing their job so that they are not only creating incredible efficiencies, but it is also allowing them as humans to go back to being humans and not being stuck behind a computer screen for 8 hours a day, but actually having their AI work alongside them so that they can continue to build business and build relationships human to human. You have to invest in the people alongside the technology, and don't assume that your IT department is the one that should be providing that. They are there to protect you, not to explain to the business development division how to take it to a conference with them.
I love it. That's well said, and provides me with a little bit of hope for the future of AI as opposed to the fear there. So that's great.
Yeah.
Hey, Michelle, where can the listeners go if they'd like to learn more or connect with you?
Thanks, Darren. They can find me on LinkedIn, michellehamilton.ai. And then our website is www.answerrocket.com, or they can email me, michelle.hamilton@answerrocket.com.
Awesome. Well, Michelle Hamilton, I can't say thanks enough for taking the time to talk. I've enjoyed it, learned a lot,
Good.
and look forward to doing it again soon.
Me too, Darren. Thanks. Really appreciate you having me in, and love your podcast and your show. It's just phenomenal. So I'm going to keep learning from you even after today.
All right. For our listeners, if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the more you know, the more you grow. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio.
You're listening to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals. For more information on this or any of our guests, like us on Facebook, CREPN Radio.